2311 and Front Row Motorsports confirmed they will be running as open teams next season, as well as some more details in the case itself. Old men argue on Twitter, and Kyle Busch is running the Chili Bowl, and more, because I'm finally back from my mini vacation. Let's get into it. Coming up next. What's going on, everybody? Hope you're doing good today. All right, first things first. 2311 and Front Row Motorsports announced that they will be running as open teams next season, so let's look at the quote. We are pleased to announce that NASCAR has removed the anti-competitive release requirement in its open agreement, which will now allow 2311 and Front Row Motorsports to race as open teams in 2025. My clients will continue their appeal to the Fourth Circuit to issue an injunction so that they can run as charter teams, therefore avoiding irreparable harm. Both race teams are pleased that they will continue to be a participant in the sport that they love while fighting to make it fair and just for all. Those words, of course, from the lawyer there, Jeffrey Kessler, and posted to both 2311 and Front Row Motorsports social media. And what we learned from this, obviously, is that 2311 and Front Row will be running as open teams next season if that injunction doesn't go through. But that's interesting in this, that if this hadn't have been lifted by NASCAR, we might not have seen 2311 or Front Row Motorsports at all next season. Now, the likelihood of NASCAR not lifting it and not letting those two teams run was very slight, if anything, because first off, it would probably look pretty bad. I'm not a legal expert, I'm not a lawyer, but it would probably look pretty bad on their particular court effort if they weren't going to let 2311 and Front Row Motorsports run at all next season. And also, just from a financial and putting butts in seats particular deal, and for TV, you want Michael Jordan's team on there. You know, you want all the drivers, you want the regular season champion Tyler Reddick, you want Bubba Wallace, and you want all the guys over there at Front Row Motorsports, including Noah Gragson, who has a huge following, Michael McDowell of that team, and of course Pickle Todd Gilliland. Call him Pickle Todd because of Grillo's Pickles. A lot of people asked me that in the comments last time I said Pickle Todd, so yeah. But anyway, you want all those names in there so that you can continue to put butts in seats and for TV viewership. So the likelihood, like I said, of them not running was, pretty slim, but now it is official that they will be running as open teams. And of course, the second thing in there was that they're continuing their fight to get the injunction to run as charter teams. That way they can get all of the money, and they said irreparable damages. I don't know how that's going to play out in court, but it's going to be a long and lengthy battle. So that injunction, which is one component of it, is just one part, one piece of this. Now, they lost the first injunction hearing, but this right here is a victory for the team. So we now know that they will at least be able to race. So right now, I guess if you're keeping score at home, it's like 1-1 or whatever. But like I said, we got a long journey in front of us, and I don't want to harp on this for too long. But while we're on the subject, let's jump into this part of it as well. The law firm of Latham & Watkins that represents NASCAR in the 2311 Front Row Motorsports lawsuit has added its top appellate attorney, Gregory Garr, I hope I said that right, to the NASCAR defense team. Garr is a former U.S. Solicitor General who regularly argues in U.S. Court of Appeals and the Supreme Court. So NASCAR adding him signals to me a few things. And something that I've thought about for a long time. This is, first off, going to be a very long process, but the fact that they added basically an attorney who has argued in the Supreme Court lets me know that NASCAR is letting 2311 know, and 2311 probably has already got this in their mind anyway, but they'll probably possibly take this all the way to the Supreme Court if they have to, and I do think that eventually that's probably where this is going to go, because you've already seen just the first small matter in this thing. 2311 and Front Row Motorsports have already appealed it. So like I said, this is going to be a very long journey, very long process. We're going to be talking about it for a long time to come, but I do think that there's a chance it goes to the Supreme Court, and the fact that NASCAR has put this guy in place lets me know that NASCAR is thinking that that is a possibility as well at some point, which will probably be a very long time down the road, but just an interesting maneuver there. Speaking of 2311 and NASCAR, one of the owners of 2311, Denny Hamlin, put out a format for how he would do a playoff going forward, which wasn't a big deal. A lot of people have been putting out their version of how they think the playoffs should be tweaked going forward, and even NASCAR's admitted that they're going to look at it in the offseason and make some tweaks, but 2026 would be the earliest that they made a massive adjustment to the playoffs. So Denny Hamlin threw his idea out there, and Larry McReynolds didn't like it, to which he tweeted, "So just what we need again. Our champion would go through the entire 10-race playoffs, not win a race, and might not need to, and at the final race back possibly to where one driver headed into a race a clinch scenario. Now this would be nail-biting and exciting. Hashtag unbelievable. And you see there, he's responding to Dirty Mo Media, who was just presenting Denny Hamlin's version of it. To which Denny Hamlin then responded, "Hey Larry, I know facts are hard to comprehend, but we actually had a champion crowned in trucks by a driver who didn't win at all during the season under this format. Hashtag believe it. Sorry, so what were you saying about winning again?" And of course, Denny Hamlin is referring to Matt Crafton, who won a truck championship without winning a race. And also, like, just I'm going to throw this one in here. Daniel Hemrick won an Xfinity title by winning only one race. So the winning matters type deal from Larry Mack, he kind of missed it on that one. But Larry Mack has, for a long time, been a NASCAR. He's on the NASCAR side of this argument with the lawsuit. He's made comments in the past saying NASCAR has made a lot of people rich. So I don't understand, basically why these teams are suing. And I'm paraphrasing. I'm not going to get the exact quote there. But he's had that particular line, and that's fine that he's siding with NASCAR. But even in that line that he gave, as far as that goes, just because a organization makes people rich doesn't necessarily make that organization right, or you don't necessarily have to, be on the side of that organization. Enron made a lot of people rich. Nortel, Northern Telecom, made a lot of people rich. They weren't necessarily doing things the right way or doing things properly, so we'll have to see how this lawsuit plays out. But Larry Mack clearly on NASCAR's side here, and Denny Hamlin addressed that as well. Oh, and if you could stop spreading disinformation to your listeners about our lawsuit, I would really appreciate it. Thanks. So there you go. Denny Hamlin basically letting Larry Mack know, he's like, hey, you know what? I don't appreciate what you're saying about our lawsuit. So very, very interesting. It'll be really interesting to see how this lawsuit plays out. I'm just sitting back and watching what happens. I do think 2311 has a pretty good case. Where in the American justice system, though, it doesn't matter if you have a good case. It just matters what the outcome will be. So just going to be super interesting. But Larry Mack has basically cast his die. He is on the side of NASCAR, and Denny Hamlin, obviously, on the side of 2311 and Front Row Motorsports. Nothing quite like old men arguing on Twitter. Like, there's nothing more entertaining than that. So speaking of which, not necessarily old men arguing on Twitter, but definitely seems like some hurt feelings. Alex Miller tweeted, "No way, you're an important piece of the show that brought so many people back to the sport. This is a bummer." Brett Griffin then responds and says, "Thanks for the kind words. Means a lot. Not everyone sees it the way you and I do." And that was on the heels of Brett Griffin announcing that he is no longer going to be with Door Bumper Clear, which led some people to say, hey, have they taken Door Bumper Clear off the air? Or was Brett Griffin himself just let go, or they didn't renew his contract, whichever happened? To which that particular talk was put to rest by one Mike Davis, who said DBC is absolutely coming back in 2025. You won't believe who's coming with it. So definitely not to the same level as Larry Mack and Denny Hamlin, but looks like Brett Griffin not exactly happy with Mike Davis because he didn't seem like he wanted to be let go from the show or didn't have his contract renewed, however it played out. But yeah, that's super interesting, and that one sort of flew under the radar as far as the interaction went there. And also from Bob Pockrass, announced yesterday, Kyle Busch will run a couple of midget races this month at Bakersfield and Ventura, and also will compete in the Chili Bowl in January. And Kyle Busch already has a video up of his test session if you want to go check that out on his YouTube channel. So definitely a great way to transition out of that drama. Kyle Busch getting in a dirt car and will be at the Chili Bowl. That'll be super cool to follow. Of course, you can catch that on Flow Racing, I think is what they call it, Flow TV, whatever it's called. It's on Flow. Bob Pockrass once again, both Mark Miles and Long Beach Grand Prix CEO Jim Michelayan, hopefully I said that right, not sure, said no plans to have talks with NASCAR about Long Beach event weekend. Right now, contract with the city runs through 2028 and allows for only one 3-day event weekend, and IndyCar is the focus. That, of course, on the heels of Penske Entertainment has acquired the Grand Prix Association of Long Beach LLC from longtime owner Gerald R. Forsyth, putting Penske in charge of the Long Beach Grand Prix. So there you have it. Even though Roger Penske owns it, it looks like IndyCar is going to be the focus. And if NASCAR was to race there, they would have to do sort of a double weekend with IndyCar. So still not out of the realm of possibility, but definitely lessens the chances of NASCAR racing at Long Beach. So NASCAR looking for their California date, other than, Sonoma or whatever you want to call it now, they continue to look for it as they build the new track, if the new track ever gets built. And from Jayski, Legacy Motor Club announced today the key hire of motorsports veteran Chad Johnston to serve as manager, race engineering, Johnston will focus on leading Legacy Motor Club engineering fleet within the competition department led by Brian Campy and Jacob Cantor. Chad is a great hire for us at Legacy Motor Club, said technical director Brian Campy. His decades of experience and extensive knowledge will make him a huge benefit to the club. We have a lot of work to do this offseason, and Chad's expertise will help us accomplish our goals. So I guess we're calling it the club now. So it's no longer LMC, it's the club. I guess that's what they're designating themselves this season. Well, it can't possibly get any worse than it did last season because statistically they had a car finish of all the cars that raced last in driver points, that being John Hunter Nemechek with his multiple incidents. If he cleans that up, he obviously would have had a much higher finishing position, so part of it is on him. But part of it was the overall speed in the car because we know Eric Jones can get the job done. We know he always contends at least for the 16th to 18th position. They are points-wise always on the cusp of getting in when he doesn't win or have a winning season. So a lot of work to do, so let's see who they're getting here. During his more than 20-year motorsports career, the Cuyahoga, that's Ohio. Anyway, I don't know how to say that word. Indiana native has worked at several prominent race organizations such as Chip Ganassi Racing, Gillette Evernham Motorsports, JTG Doherty Racing, Michael Waltrip Racing, Morgan Dollar Motorsports, and Stuart Haas Racing. While working for those organizations, he has directed the likes of some of the most accomplished names in motorsports, such as Bobby Labonte, Harrison Burton, and his father, Jeff Burton, along with Casey Kane, Kevin Harvick, Kyle Larson, Marcus Ambrose, Martin Truex Jr., Matt Kenseth, Regan Smith, Ryan Prix, and Tony Stewart. In the 13 years that Johnson has served as crew chief for NASCAR's Truck and Cup Series, the 44-year-old has over 400 races under his belt. He calculated, that's a weird way to put that, 7 victories. He calculated 7 victories in Cup, 1 in Truck, and claims 70 top 5 and 140 top 10 finishes, as well as 11 pole positions. So there you go. A lot of experience. He's worked with a lot of great drivers. He's calculated 7 wins. I've never heard it said like that. That's an interesting way of phrasing it. Anyway, he's worked with a lot of great drivers. He's got, over 20 plus years of experience, and there's nowhere to go but up for Legacy Motor Club, so hopefully this works out for him. All right, good to be back. We'll keep these things rolling throughout the off season, but this is all I got for you on this one. If you made this far, I would love to have your subscription. If not, I'll just keep making these things. If you're already subscribed, I appreciate you all as well. If you got a question, comment, or anything like that, leave it down in the comment section. I get to as many of them as I can. And other than that, off-season videos continue. Thanks for your time. Peace.